On September the 12th, 1962, US President John F. Kennedy rose to his feet at Rice University in Houston, Texas, to deliver what would prove to be one of the most memorable speeches in human history. The speech concluded, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they're hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because the challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone." Delivered just 13 years after the end of the Second World War, that speech not only set the scene for the coming space race between the US and the Soviet Union, it also encapsulated a post war ambition in which no challenge was considered too big or too challenging. In the years and decades that followed, the US and the world achieved things that would have been unimaginable just a few years earlier. The US ultimately put a man on the moon and built an interstate highway network that crisscrossed the nation and brought commerce and interconnectivity to even the remotest areas. In the UK, we rebuilt entire cities damaged and destroyed during the war. We continued the construction of our motorway network, completing the M1 and then adding the M4, M5, and M6 in relatively quick succession. We also forged a tunnel beneath the seabed to link the UK with mainland Europe. Elsewhere, we've seen buildings grow ever taller, with some now stretching almost a kilometre into the sky. I'm going to paraphrase Will McAvoy from the TV series The Newsroom here. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases. We reached for the stars. And then we didn't. JFK set his sights on the moon, not because it was easy, but because it was hard. Today, however, it seems that anything hard, challenging, ambitious, or previously untried is sidelined or derailed. Let's start with the most obvious example: railways. Across the world, roads are choked with cars. Movement of people and of goods has been hindered, impeded, and delayed. The solution? Public transport, or more specifically, trains. Today, there are dozens of high speed rail networks either planned or under construction. In Africa, there are plans for a huge high speed rail network that will speed passengers across the entire continent. There are similar plans in place in Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, and the United States. These are mirrored in Bangladesh, Cambodia, India, and right across Asia. Huge, ambitious projects that will link nations and transform continents. Here in the UK, we had planned a high speed rail network of our own, one that would link London, Leeds, and Manchester. It was supposed to be 330 miles long, but we bottled it. HS2 will now terminate in Birmingham, just 140 miles from where it began. The nation of Wren, Brunel, of Dickens and Shakespeare, of Darwin, Newton, and Churchill, upstaged by outposts from the old empire. And then, of course, there is the ill fated Boris Island, an admittedly ambitious plan to create a new island of reclaimed land in the Thames estuary to accommodate a new international airport. That plan, backed heavily by the then London Mayor Boris Johnson, was designed to divert traffic away from both Gatwick and Heathrow airports and away from the capital's skyline. But we were told it was too costly, too ambitious. Instead, we're going to shoehorn a third runway into the already overcapacity Heathrow Airport at the estimated cost of £49 billion. In the time that the UK has hesitated and vacillated over Heathrow, massive airport expansions have been agreed and commenced in Chile, Dubai, Hong Kong, India, Spain, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Thailand, United Arab Emirates, and Vietnam. What does that say about our nation and our place on the global stage? What does that say about our ambitions? And what does that say about our industry? We once measured greatness by the scale of our ambition. Now we seem to measure it by how little risk we're willing to take. We speak of innovation, but our actions look like hesitation. The world is still building, still reaching for the stars, but we are watching from the sidelines. Playing it safe would never have allowed man to walk on the moon, to build tunnels below the sea, or to build iconic towers that graze the heavens. Sadly, it seems that today ambition is a dirty word. Safe is our default position. And we no longer do things because they're hard. We just don't do them at all.